Hi, I'm Jonathan Steigman. I'm the Director of Communications at the Integral Cinema Project. I work with my colleague Mark Allen Kaplan, who you'll meet in just a moment, who is a brilliant filmmaker and artist and also a scholar of meta theories and a media psychologist, and has the first really comprehensive toolkit for analyzing and understanding media and how it can work to transform consciousness in individuals and in the society at large. I think we can all feel that we're on the cusp of an enormously dangerous time. We're in a liminal space that could face major collapse to the society and enormous amounts of suffering. And we want to really avoid that because we also have a lot of potential to improve the world enormously, to change everything under this COVID regime, which has forced us all to stop and think. So we want to encourage you to learn how to stop preaching to the choir, stop stoking the fire, and start becoming a media shaman, the person who steps outside of all the boxes and sees more and perceives more. Just a technical note, we are 7 months into quarantine as I'm filming this, and Mark actually has been living with long haul COVID for about 6 months or 7 months, so he was not able to join me in the studio. So we had to do this over Zoom. So we are dealing with Zoom technology. Unfortunately, had a lot of technical issues. My background is a little bit iffy, I think, but we're living in a time of unprecedented instability and internal conflict, and we decided we could not wait to release this, couldn't wait another month or 6 weeks or whatever. So that's why I've decided to release this now, even though it's a little bit technically imperfect. But hopefully the content is A+. It's unique in the world. I don't think there's anyone else in the world who has as comprehensive and as sophisticated a view of media and how we can design it to transform self, others, and the world as Mark. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks again for joining us. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Media Shaman Toolkit for Revolutionaries. This is a three-part video course, as we say, to improve your ability to make sense of the world, to learn how to use the transformative potential of media, and to help yourself and others evolve into the grounded consciousness we need right now. And essentially, this is a course to help you upgrade your own perceptual abilities so you can kind of see more, understand how propaganda works, and understand also how you can use some of the tools to create more transformative media that can affect others, not only people who think already like you, but people who don't think like you, because really that's the whole goal here, is to reach a lot of people. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. First thing we'll notice that it's called the Media Shaman Toolkit, and we want to define what a media shaman is. I am Jonathan Steigman, the communications director at the Integral Cinema Project, which was founded by my colleague Mark Allen Kaplan, who's here with us. And Mark is the founder and also the leading scholar in the application of integral theory to the moving image, but also meta theories in general, which are developmental theories, not only human development, but also the development of societies and cultures and technologies. These are sort of grand theories to see how societies evolve over time, how cultures evolve over time, and how individuals evolve over time. And when you understand these, you can begin to design media that allows you to kind of step outside of all of the different cultural streams to be on the outside, because the shaman is always the guy who lives on the edge of the village. He's not of the village. He's on the edge of the village, straddling the world between the jungle and the civilization. And as a media shaman, your goal is to be able to step outside of all of the various construct fields that are around, to be able to see them all for what they are, and then be able to design media to understand better and to communicate better across these structures. And we did call it a toolkit for revolutionaries. I know we're very clever using the R and the evolutionaries, which has been done before, but the reason for that is because we need a revolution. We need a political revolution, but those kinds of revolutions can only happen if we also have a revolution in our own consciousness and our cultural consciousness. Mark likes to say all problems are problems of consciousness, and that's true. So hopefully we can come up with something exciting for you and help you evolve your own consciousness, and therefore help to evolve the consciousness of others. So let me bring Mark on. How you doing, Mark?
I'm okay, man. I'm okay in this wild ride of a time we're in, definitely. So I want to just come off a little bit of what you said there, Jonathan, and really kind of just hone in a little bit on the media shaman thing and tell you a little bit about myself as well at the same time. I am here and I've studied film because I was and am a stutterer. And early on, I could hardly talk, and I sought for ways of speaking without the spoken word. And so I did art, photography, and everything, and then I discovered film. And I fell in love with it. And I went to film school to learn it. And the key here is to understand is I went into film not as a career or as an artist. I went into film to learn a language. And that has been my orientation for my whole life, is studying film as a language. How does it speak to us? How does it affect us? And when I was in film school, I took a class in personal anthropology from a very famous anthropologist, Barbara Meyerhoff. And the class was about looking at your own life as an anthropologist, to study your life as an anthropologist. And she brought in all sorts of people, poets and monks and mystics and pretty wild stuff. And she brought in a shaman. And this shaman passed out these pouches and gave us each a mirror, a feather, and a stone. And basically he took us through this whole process and basically said, now you're all shamans and all that. And it was really kind of fascinating, really amazing. But then afterwards, Professor Meyerhoff asked me to stay after class. And she explained to me that stuttering was considered a form of a calling to become a shaman in the primal traditions. And she had read my papers reflecting on myself and my life, and she saw my films that I showed, and she looked at me and she said, you're a shaman, and film, media, is your instrument. And that the shaman uses the instruments that are in their environment, in their reality, and use them for healing. So the old shamans, they used plant medicine and this and this. So this is medium medicine. So, and after that, it was a whole transformative experience where it shifted my perception from my stuttering as a handicap to it as a calling, changed my whole perceptual field. And the same week, one of my teachers in film school said, he believed I was a good filmmaker because of my stuttering. And that I learned the language of image very well because of that. So, long story short, I really kind of took that on.
It's worth pointing out that you told me when your teacher first told you that you became a good filmmaker because you were a stutterer, your response was not, oh, that's wonderful, as I recall. You said you're resistant to that. So resistance is a big part of this journey. Yes. I remember when I was in junior high school or high school, I read a story called Life Among the Nasarima, which was sort of a strange anthropological examination of this strange tribe. And it turned out Nasarima is just American backwards. So really it was describing the average American as he gets up and makes breakfast, but it's all described in this clinical, detached outsider language. So it all seemed very alien. And that's part of that ability to step outside of your normal field and see, as you said, what Barbara Meyerhoff gave you, this exercise to look at your life as if you're an anthropologist, try to see which parts of it make sense and which parts of it don't, but you don't notice it.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's part of what the shaman is called to do. And you're called to heal yourself in order to heal others. And so after that, I decided to make a film that shared what it was like to be a stutterer from the inside as my vision quest. And I even put in the film shamanic storylines and all that. So ever since, it's been like, and one more thing. That same year in college, I took a course called Filmic Expression back then by Lester Novros, who was an old Hollywood special effects guy and animator. He worked on the original King Kong. He worked on Fantasia 2001. He was also one of the co-inventors of IMAX technology. And he was also a teacher in the oral tradition of filmic expression that goes back all the way to the Russian school in the 20s and 30s with Sergei Eisenstein. And this oral tradition basically explores the power of media, how all the different elements of it affect us physically, emotionally, mentally. And once again, that transformed my consciousness again. You know, all of a sudden, it was like my whole reality had changed. So this is kind of the essence of what we're talking about here is the goal of these courses and the master course that this is leading into, if you so feel called to head into even further, is this perceptual field. The media shaman, or the great master medium maker, has a wider and deeper perceptual field. And they're seeking the things we don't see and speaking to us and trying to help us to see things we don't see. And we know from history and also from my course and the research I've done since, that the media has a profound impact. It has the power to heal and destroy. It has the power to program a whole nation, to change how we perceive ourselves, each other in the world. So this is our medicine as media shamans. And the key to the shaman, once again, is healing thyself as we're trying to heal others. So it's not like Western medicine where I'm a doctor, I studied and I'm going to heal you. It's, no, you got to be in it. You got to be. So that's the fundamental thing here. So we're going to give you a little exercise here at the beginning before we actually start, to give you a taste of the impact of your own perceptual field.
Right, so I may as well say this is a perceptual field exercise, and it's similar to a meditation, but it's not exactly the same. And I know for some of you, these sorts of exercises, perceptual exercises, might be like catnip. You're like, oh, great, a new exercise. And others of you are like, where do we find the fast forward button? You know. So the truth is, though, these are actually practical tools to help you begin to modify your perceptual field, to help soften your neuroplasticity, as we like to say. We might get to that later, to start to be able to perceive more different dimensions of society. And so what Mark's going to take you through is literally a perception practice. So yeah. Go for it, Mark.
And real quick, meditation and yoga and all these practices, they are concerned with waking up in terms of waking up to higher states of consciousness. So they're oriented around state training. Okay, and states are temporary states of consciousness, and you higher and higher states. But there's also a path or a process called, instead of waking up, it's the growing up. And growing up is about our evolution and development. And it works on the structures of consciousness, not states. So the stages of development itself. And so it's really working on our actual frame of consciousness, our construct field, how we perceive the world. States happen inside of it, inside of our structure, and we interpret our state experiences from this structure. And what we like to do is to help you become aware of your actual perceptual field, that structure of your consciousness, and trying to expand that and deepen it. So that's what these exercises are about. And they're different than meditation in terms of you could do it with eyes open or closed, just depending on what is easier for you to visualize something in your head. And some people prefer the eyes open or eyes closed. So that's no problem there. All right, so let's sit in a comfortable position if you're not. And let's focus for a moment on our breath. Just bringing our awareness to our breathing. Now, before we begin fully, as you're focusing on your breath, I want you to imagine how would you tell the story of your experience right now? If you were describing this experience you're having right now, watching this video, taking this course, how would you describe it to others? What would be the story of this moment? Okay, now let that go. And now I want you to just bring your awareness from your breath to your thoughts and feelings. See if you can observe your thoughts and your feelings, your interior subjective reality. Now, see if you could extend that awareness to your physical beingness, the sensations of your body, the feeling of the seat you're sitting on against your body, your feet on the floor, and the sound you are receiving is coming through your body's ears. And if your eyes are open, you could look around the room and just look at, the objects around you, or you could have your eyes closed and just remember the objects in your space. And this is your external, physical, behavioral field. Now, try to hold both of these in your awareness at the same time, your thoughts and feelings, your internal beingness, and your awareness of your material, physical beingness around you. And see if you could expand that further to the space you're in. And now, holding all this, focus on your technology, the technology that you're watching this video through. And recognize that the images and the sound that you're hearing are being captured on our computers where we are, and they're being translated into bits of information. And then those are transmitted through wires and circuits and through the air. And they enter cyberspace and the web and spread all over the planet into this collective field of bits and pieces of our beingness. And then they're coming back and being reconstituted into wherever this is being recorded. And then it's up online and you are watching it, and it's transmitting these bits of beingness out back into the web and back towards you and out through your computer and through your speakers and into you. And in a sense, you're part of this big we space. There's billions of people online communicating in all these bits of beingness all over the place. And at this moment, we're having a relationship that's actually across time and space itself. We are recording this in your past, but you're receiving it in this moment. We are imagining ourselves speaking to you in a future. And then we have this communication field across this vast planetary sphere. So here we are, speaking across time and space to each other in this strange relational field. Now, holding all this in your awareness, try to imagine how you would tell the story of this moment differently than you would have before. Now, focus on your breath for one moment. And if your eyes are closed, open them up. And so, what you just experienced was what we call in meta theory the 4 quadrants, or 4 dimensions and perceptual fields of reality. Every moment of our existence, we are in these 4 dimensions are operating at the same time. And that is the individual interior and exterior, my interior subjective reality, my objective reality, the system and environment around me, that's number 3, the collective field, and then there is the collective relational field, our communicating with each other, our relationship, when 2 or more are gathered, language, culture. And all of that is inside of us, around us. And so this is a taste of expanding your perceptual field of the moment. All of this is there, but you weren't aware of it before, unless you're a student of meta theory, and then you know. So this is actually integral theory, which is one of meta theory, but our work is based on several of these meta theories. And a meta theory is basically a theory that tries to understand everything put all the pieces together, all the different theories of existence from every domain, and see how they fit together. So we're always looking for the big picture of what's happening. And the great artists naturally perceive this way. And hopefully we're going to give you a little taste of it with these short videos in this course. And if you want to really take that further, you have the big course after this. But let's focus right now on where we are here.
Right. So I was going to say the 4 quadrants, they're very valuable just as a frame for beginning to understand different dimensions of all kinds of different events, because you'll often find that when people divide into tribes, like the left and the right, they will tend to focus on different quadrants of those 4 quadrants. So often one group is more concerned with what's known as the upper right, which would be the individual exterior quadrant, and another one is interested in the cultural quadrant. So when people are having a discussion or an argument, a lot of times they're talking about 2 different things. So they're not even talking about the same issue because they're looking at different dimensions of it. Whereas if you can look at all 4 quadrants, you can begin to understand how they all are operating at the same time. And as we'll get to later on, is that they're also co-evolving. So they're all evolving, intertwined with each other. And so it sounds very complicated, but as you start to play with it more, you just get better at seeing it. And as Mark said, the great artists, great works of media are actually addressing all of the quadrants and often showing how different things have ramifications in all of them. So
now it's an important point here though too that we say, you don't have to be a filmmaker, a media maker, or an artist to be taking this course or these courses. As we say in our literature for this course and the big course is, anyone with a smartphone now is a media maker or a media sharer. If you share media in social media, on social media platform, you are a content provider. So, and with what's going on in the world right now, any of us can be called at any moment to become a citizen reporter for our community or even the world. So it's vital that we learn this stuff, because right now the polarization between subgroups and groups is like being intensified to such a point that we need to break that. We need to break through that. And that is the assignment, the challenge, the goal of being a media shaman at this moment. And all of us on the planet are being called, because media now is everywhere. It's in our hands. It's in our homes. It's in our cars. It's just, it is now the language of the planet. And so that is our tool. And the planet needs our help.